Dolphins thirsty, they never show no mercy. On the field or in the game, Miami knows how to play. Dolphins thirsty, we all get down and dirty. Tell you what you want to know, it's the Dolphins Show. Quench your thirst for all things Miami Dolphins. They are the football kings, cause they play to win. Come on in and have some fun, whether we have lost or we have won. For all things Miami, it's Dolphins Thursday.
Good morning, Miami Dolphins fans. My co-host Steve's running a couple minutes late. He'll be here any minute, he says. But fins up to all of you. We're going to talk about Zach Sieler, obviously signing a contract extension with the Miami Dolphins. Also, our thoughts are still with David Davis. Seems like he's doing much better, and so that's good news. Like I said, fins up. Happy Sunday morning. Yes, the Dolphins. Hey, good morning, Ender. Thank you, as always, for joining the show. Steve will be here in a minute. You're welcome to come on in, Evan, and everyone, of course. We are waiting for my co-host, Steve, who's running late because he worked late, double time, overtime on the Fins Talk Sports Network last night, but he's promised me he's going to be here in a minute. So Sieler signing to me is good news for the Miami Dolphins. It's one guy down on contract extension. As you can see here, there's the deal. It's really a good deal from the Miami Dolphins standpoint. Cal Cabs, who's a capologist, he's always breaking down the salary cap. He loves that stuff. And he breaks it down compared to other players. You can see here on the image on the screen. So to me, it sounds like a good deal for both the team and for Zach. Obviously, he's going to sign it if he's not happy with it. So that is good news. As far as the game last night, yes, it was overall an ugly game. Biggest concern was injuries. Ahmed went out on what I consider was a dirty hit. The play that, Davis got hit on was flagged a penalty, but that's just like football. That he ran, hit him bad, and he got hurt. And here, with no further ado, Steve, thank you for joining us. Better late than never, and you're always on time with me, Steve. Thank you.
No problem. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, man. So how are you doing before we get into it? So what are your thoughts before we get into how you're doing? I know you're doing great, as always. What's your thoughts on Zach Sieler? And if I'm saying the name wrong, Evan will correct me, so that's good. But what's your thoughts on the signing extension?
On Zach Sieler?
Yes.
To be honest with you, when did he sign?
I really are running late. I sent you a text early this morning. I said in my sign that you were probably not quite 100% yet. He signed this morning per Adam Schefter, Cal Krabs, and a whole bunch of other people have reported on it. So it's official. He has signed a contract deal. Oh, now we're getting DG. We're getting another good. Hey, good morning, George. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys? Good morning.
Good. Like I said, first thoughts, of course, are to Davis. Hopefully he's he's okay. It seems like he's moving his extremities and he was alert. Getting early evaluated last I heard. I haven't seen any reports this morning. When the Zach Sieler news broke, that's of course kind of took over Dolphins Twitter. So what's your thoughts on the Zach Sieler move, George?
My thoughts on the move, I just heard about this morning too. I just heard about it this morning. And I don't know. It's kind of scaring me because I thought we would sign Christian Wilkins before we signed Zach Sieler. But we signed Zach Sieler first. So I feel like the front office, they in the right headspace. Like if you made me choose between Christian Wilkins and Zach Sieler to sign first, I would sign Zach Sieler. So we just got to see what we do with Christian Wilkins. We're pretty sure that he's going to play the first game. And I don't know. We just got to see how the season goes. And we might trade away Christian Wilkins if that becomes the case.
That's some of the speculation that's now flying around. We're thinking, does this mean something else?
Yeah, I'm reading between the lines right now. Reading between the lines.
I know. Good morning, Cap for Life. As always, welcome. I like the move. You need to at least sign some of your own. We signed our own. Now let's keep them. Technically, of course, we picked him up from the Ravens, but he's still I consider his own because he's made his name here in with the Miami Dolphins. So hopefully, like you said, hopefully it doesn't mean we can't sign Wilkins. Hopefully it's just a step towards signing Wilkins and shoring up that move before we do any other moves. I know people are still on the Jonathan Taylor watch and people like that. But before I forget, guys, George here is DG Live. As you see his name right there, I always say he has an extra E in live because he is excellent. Make sure you follow his channel, DG Live. And Cap, always good to see you. Evan, always great to see you. And of course, you're welcome to join us too, Evan. We heard all your thoughts last night on the post-game show on the Fins Talk Sports Network, but I will drop the link here. There is one in the DMs, Evan, on the team, our Dolphins Fins Talk chat room. But anyway, Steve, now that you know, now you're hearing it. Now you've got a minute to process. What do you think of it?
Yeah, sorry about that. I totally haven't checked my my Twitter accounts or any social media. I was doing some other things this morning, and but yeah, thanks. Thanks for texting me, even though I didn't see it.
And you always text me the breaking news, so I figure I owe you some breaking news.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. No, I'm with DG. It's I'm kind of reading between the lines here myself, and my immediate thought when you just mentioned that we extended Zach Sealer is, are we keeping Christian Wilkins? Because here it is, not even 24 hours after the last playoff game, and instead of signing supposedly our best defensive tackle on the Miami Dolphins, we signed Zach Sealer. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's hard to speculate,
Yeah.
But
anyway,
we just have
the numbers up there for you, Steve. I know you're a contract guy too, and those are the numbers.
All right, so it's a 10 million would put. It's really hard for me to see. But
it's like 10 million, 10.4 million average per year, basically annual average.
Wow.
This is a value deal right here. A value deal.
Yeah, that's a real good value deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That sure is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Seems like, but he signed it, so obviously he's happy too. Hey, good morning, Scotty. Let's see. Good morning. So nothing. Everyone's saying they just signed it. I think they're talking about the guaranteed money is why they, that's all it is. That's not bad, Scotty. That's not all bad. It's pretty good. So, but anyway, good morning, Scotty. You're a late night owl and an early guy, so that's good. So, Gigi, I haven't gotten up with you. So, what's your take now that we've played 3 preseason games? I know Steve's standing on where we stand at, but I haven't talked to you for a couple of weeks. So, where do you think, after you've seen 3 preseason games, throw out the records in preseason because win and loss don't matter, but from what you've seen from the team, are you concerned or are you anxious to start kicking butt out in Los Angeles in week 1?
I'm a little concerned as to our O-line depth. Teron Armstead, he wasn't playing. I'm guessing he's still hurt, but hopefully he's ready by week 1. But at the same time, the recipe to win a Super Bowl in this league, and you need a good O-line and a good D-line. But I kind of don't see it with us. I feel like we was getting bullied out there by the Jaguars. We was getting bullied in the trenches. So that wasn't like a good sight to see. There's a few positives in the game. Jalen Twyman, he looked good to me. Perry Nickerson, I feel like he'll probably make the roster that nobody don't really know about. Noah just doing Noah things. And ultimately I just feel like it's all gonna be based off the O-line and the D-line, because the O-line is gonna help Tua not get hurt, and the D-line is gonna help us get that pressure so the back end don't have to be covering for that long. We in a zone scheme, so receivers gonna get open quick, so we gotta make sure we get back there before the quarterbacks can hit them. Trevor Lawrence, he's a good quarterback, and our schedule, we got a lot of hard quarterbacks to go up against, so We need our defense to be right. We need Vic Fangio to do his job correctly and well. We was giving up a lot of underneath stuff in the game last night. A lot of underneath. So we seen the Vic Fangio defense, but we seen Cam Smith get burnt. We seen Cam
we
Smith.
did. He did get burned on that one move, but he's a rookie. You have to chalk it up to that, hopefully, and he learned from that moment. He got he thought it was going to be like a short pass, so he started going up, and the guy ran right by him, and he was open. So and it's going to happen. But like he's had a good camp overall, and hopefully he steps up further. But like Steve says, I'm a little concerned with the lack of practice. We did get a couple sacks, but our starter guys, they may get close, but close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades, as the old saying said. And close can count if you force them to throw bad throws, but our close isn't making them bad throws. They picked us apart, like you said. They nickeled and dimed us. They also remember though that was without Sealer and that was without Wilkins, but they just ran almost at will against us. They controlled that line of scrimmage and they ran. Hopefully with Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer in there in week 1, that's not going to be the same case. What do you think, Steve, on that?
Yeah, I think with Zach Sealer and Wilkins, it's going to help. But I've said this, I've been saying this for a while now. Christian Wilkins has 11 sacks in the 3 or 4 years that he's been with the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
Same with Zach Sealer. They're good at stuffing the run, and they might get a little pressure to the quarterback. But going back to what DG said about the Fangio defense, well, ladies and gentlemen, you have seen the Fangio defense. That's exactly the way that you saw it last night. Is exactly the Fangio defense. They're going to dink and dunk us, and they're going to run on us, because that's the way Fangio's defense is designed. And it's a bend but don't break defense. And in the whole essence of their defense is creating turnovers and having the quarterback make a mistake or the running back fumble or something like that, like we saw last night. So I wasn't surprised with Jacksonville to playoff. Now remember, Jacksonville is a playoff team. Houston Texans were not.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Either with Atlanta,
Jacksonville actually a playoff winning team.
Yeah. Either was the Atlanta Falcons. So it's going back to the old story of last year. We played really well against non-playoff teams, but we play against the playoff teams, and we got beat in the trenches.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Trenches.
I will keep on reminding myself it is just preseason. Remember last year we spanked the Eagles, and we're all thinking we're better than the Eagles. The Eagles went on to the Super Bowl, and a few plays away from maybe winning the Super Bowl. So, we can't just always put too much into the preseason. But that said, I wish they would have shown a little stronger this preseason and show some improvement. And I do think clock management will be better, but we still got to get rid of some penalties and stuff like that. But for the most part, we have some. I don't know. It's just I still don't think we got too much more on offense other than the offensive line. And on defense, that's where I'm a little worried, even though that's supposed to be where we've been improving a lot with Fangio here. So that's why I'm hoping it's just, like you say, George, a lot of times in the preseason, it's very vanilla. They're not going to throw a lot of different looks. They're not going to do a whole bunch of things because, it's all secret squirrel stuff until the regular season because they don't want to show what they're going to show in the regular season. So do you think that's the case of that too also, DG? Is this just some vanilla stuff in the preseason?
I wouldn't say it's vanilla completely. At certain times it would be, but for the most part, I feel like we showed some plays that we will run this season. Like that first play to Tyreek, I'm pretty sure we're gonna run that play. Because that type of play, you call those plays when your O-line is not that dependable. You want to get that ball out to the playmaker quick. And you see how wide open Tyreek Hill is. It looked like it was going to be a run play, but he got that ball, threw it straight to Tyreek, and we got those yards. And we're going to definitely need those plays. So I'm pretty sure they're not going to not call that play again. So that's probably That's probably one we have in our back pocket, but we probably didn't open like the full arsenal yet. That's why.
Right. And same with, I think, Fangio on defense, he hasn't shown all of his different looks. He's going to throw quarterbacks and stuff like that, So that's what, that's all we can hope for, because the defense did not look that great last night. They were getting run on. They got bullied, like you said, up on the line of scrimmage. So hopefully that was just a big part. No Wilkins, no Sealer, and yes, I know. I'm hoping you're right, Newfoundland. I'm hoping the Dolphins do. I'm hoping they do ball out. That's what I'm hoping for. So, but like I said, some of the things to consider. I'm still worried about. Sorry, my computer's acting up. But there are still concerns that I have on this Miami Dolphins team. But there's also hope I have for this Miami Dolphins team. So I guess you and Steve are probably in the same. And as longtime Dolphin fans, we're all just waiting for that. What can go wrong will go wrong with the Miami Dolphins. So hopefully, we avoid that. Is there any word on Ahmed? Any updates on how he is?
No? Yeah, I haven't heard nothing about Ahmed though. I haven't heard nothing. What had happened again? I wasn't there for that.
Well, I consider, and I'm not a guy that normally says something a dirty hit. To me, he took a dirty hit because the first hit was okay, but then when he's already falling back, guy comes in kind of with a flying elbow and really hits him, and it's right there on the hit. And to me, like I say, it didn't even get flagged or anything, but to me, him and Tim Bowkemper, who's an old school football guy, he said, "Well, that's just a dirty hit in this NFL." He goes, "Maybe back in the day, but in this NFL, that should have been a penalty." I just thought, it was kind of a rough. I don't know. You would have to see it. He just even went in there, boom, and hit him hard. And, you could tell he had his bell rung. So I'm thinking it's probably concussion related. Is that what you would say, Steve?
Yeah, it looked to me like it might be concussion related, but I don't know. We'll see when we get the updates on Ahmed. But going back to what you were talking about, or what we were just talking about the using Vic Fangio running a vanilla defense and McDaniel vanilla offense. Yeah, it may be vanilla. He may not be, pulling out his arsenal, and of course Fangio is not showing all of his defense, and it's a basic defense with some Fangio disguises, not a lot, but a few disguises he was showing here and there. After the pre-snap, it looks the same. Post-snap, the defense totally changes. That's a Vic Fangio defense. The disguises will come to play after the snap. But here's the thing. I don't care if the vanilla defense or vanilla offense. You still have to execute.
Right.
And they weren't doing that. And changing the scheme on offense is not going to stop your offensive line from getting bullied. No. It doesn't matter. For sure. No, so we got a problem. We got a problem. Yeah. Let me ask both of you guys this. Tell me how our offense looks if we don't have a Tyreek Hill or an Terron Armstead. Tell me how this offense will look after that.
Well, not Purdy, of course, but you could say that about almost any guy. I let George, he's really good at knowing the rosters and stuff. Right. But of course, if you take Tyreek Hill, and unfortunately last year we did see several games without Armstead, and we know it was not Purdy. So we already have kind of the answer to that. Hopefully Lamb's a little bit better than what we had last year, and hopefully if Wynn has to go out there, he's a little bit better than we had last year. But yeah, it's not going to be Purdy, definitely. And anytime you lose your biggest playmaker, no matter what team you are, it's going to hurt you. What do you say about that, DG Live?
Man, I do agree with Steve about Tyreek Hill. I feel like Tyreek Hill's worth 2 games. That's 2 wins right there automatically. Yeah. So without Tyreek Hill, I don't know how this offense will look like, and on top of that, the continuity in the offensive line, I don't really see it. 4 guys will be doing their job, 1 play. Then there will probably be that 1 person that messes up everything, and then that's a TFL, a no game type of run. When you have the same starting 5, along with each other, that tends to lead to better blocking assignments, which leads to more production on the offense. But Mike McDaniel, they right now in the preseason, he's switching them around. He putting this person at left guard, put this person at right tackle, switching around. So that probably might be the reason why, as to our O line is having miscues, but still at the same time, you see all these other teams with better O lines than ours, and it seems like, why can't we have that? Like, you
I
see,
know that's what I've been saying for seems like decades.
like decades. We do not have that, and I see what Deshaun Watson has over there on the O line. Like, I was watching the Browns game, and those guys have all day to throw, all day. But one thing that they did do was draft on the prospect that I did like, DeJuan Jones, the tackle.
Yeah.
He's their third string tackle. He might be better than our second string tackle.
Exactly. That's my point. We lose one player or two on the offense or defense. We don't have any pieces to replace them, and to like, for example, we got Davis, right? Our nose tackle. Okay, he was even getting bullied. He does not look very comfortable in the nose tackle position. But the bottom line, what if he goes down? Who's going to come in and replace him? I know Twyman is good. Peely's, a good, but they're rookies and undrafted at that. So we can't expect them to come in and even to come and play at a level as a Davis.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're very dependent on Wilkins, and hopefully, like I said, it's not any trade hints, by saying, I don't think it is. I'm hoping that it's just the first step and we actually sign them. But, Wilkins and Sealer in the middle will help if they're in there all the time. But again, like you said, you can't play that front all the time. I think he's up there in the leader. The past 2 years, I think no one's taken more snaps along the defensive line than Wilkins. He's a baller. He's out there almost every down. It's crazy. But, you can't count on that forever. You need to start rotating some of these guys like teams do. Keep them fresh. And like we said, we're razor thin in that area behind those two guys,
And cornerback too.
Yeah, I know. No, we are.
And defensive back. I mean, like I said, you lose one player or two players on the defense or offense, our whole dynamic, our whole dynamic changes on offense and defense.
And how about the snapping issues of Connor Williams? When is that gonna get resolved? Because overall, he's a decent center when he's actually blocking. Much better when Tua's under center. We don't run into the bad snap issues. It's just, for whatever reason, it's almost, especially early in the season. Last year, I thought he had fixed it up, but here we are, 2 preseason games, and he has 2 bad snaps already this preseason. So to me, that's a little worrying. I don't know if it's just a mental thing with him because he's so worried about his assignments and everything that he's so hurried to get that ball back there that he just doesn't realize that Tua's not a 6 foot something. He's like, Tua would have to be like 6'5" to get some of those snaps. Did you see that last night? I mean, the ball went 25 yards back. We were lucky to get it back. So it's just,
we might as well put Connor Williams at quarterback.
Yeah, you might as well. You're right. But to speak on that, this issue has been happening since last year. We've been talking about this issue since last year with Connor Williams. And as you just mentioned, Rob, this is a vanilla defense, so it can't be he's worried about all these plays in his head. It ain't that because they're playing basic offense, right? Again, it's execution, fundamentals. I think that and Brett Legacy from the Finns Talk Sports Network, he made a comment I was reading last night. Maybe we should just go ahead and swing Connor Williams back to left guard, and go out and get us a center, find a center, maybe off the waiver wire or something. But we need a true center. Dan Feeney, he's got really he played really well at center for us last night as far as snapping the ball, but Dan Feeney is no Connor Williams. But maybe we should shift him back to left guard, and find a true center.
Yeah, I know those shotgun snaps just are frustrating, man, because it messes up that one. Not only, I mean, that messes up the whole play, but even when they're just a little high and Tua can grab it, by the time he hops up there and he gets it, that's just those split seconds in our timing offense are thrown off, because he's very much a rhythm passer. If he has to hop up there, grab it, worry about just securing the ball, his routes are, everything's already a little bit off. So I don't know. He's definitely have to fix that up because it's very
well.
Like you say, I know you're big and not big, but you do look into the all 22. You do look into PFF rating, Steve, and you said that he was a top 5 center last year as far as their analytics and how they study people. But those snaps, that could be the difference of winning a football game and losing a football game one week. And that's
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you're concerned too with DG. You're worried about that.
I might sound crazy with this one. I'm worried, but I'm not too worried. When I seen him snap the ball and it went over to his head, if I was Chris Greer, I would have been writing down the less amount of money that I will be giving to him in that next contract.
Absolutely. No doubt.
Yeah. If you want that contract, you gotta deserve it. You're not gonna get it if you're doing that during the preseason. So if he don't get his act together, that next contract is not going to be as hefty as he think it will be.
That's right.
It may not come from the Miami Dolphins. So because they are going to have to cut some people probably next year to, and he's got. I mean, he may just be a guy. He won't have to be cut because his contract would be over. But it would just be a guy that said, "Well, we're going to have to find someone else on the cheap." Again, unfortunately, but I am concerned with it. But I know he did clean it up some last year, so hoping that he cleans it up again this year. But you can't definitely, because if you go out there and you're like 31-31, you're driving down the field. Hey, Bobby, this is Bobby, guys. He coming in with something here. Ian Rappaport, after months of negotiation for
crazy.
Kristen Wilker and the shoe size for him to come to term, I eventually turned his attention to Sarah, who gets. So maybe maybe our speculation is not that far off, and we're not just talking maybe he could get moved down or whatever. And, I'm not saying he is. I have no sources. You guys, that's one thing we're all good. Bobby won't claim he has sources. Steve, DJ, we don't have any sources. But when you just start being a fan that's been a fan long enough, you start connecting dots eventually. And if they can't get it done, then do they want to do what they did? Because they could have got something for Gesicki. Instead, they just franchise tagged him. Hardly, he got some touchdowns last year. Then they lost him for nothing. But you could have moved him for at least a mid-round draft pick. Now with Wilkins, are they going to be in that same boat? Do they move him this year and learn because they can get a lot more value for Wilkins than they could have from Gesicki? Now, and if they feel like they can get something done, then by all means to try. But if you let him get to free agency, you're really never going to reach an agreement because some team will throw a bag of money at him that the Dolphins will not match. And then if you franchise tag him next year, you're really going to have a disgruntled. The Dolphins could technically franchise tag him. I think that would come around $20 million for 1 year. But then how's that going to be chemistry in the locker room? Because he's like a locker room leader. So I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. Either one of you guys, I don't know who's had more.
Well, can I answer? There's a comment by Ender. He said, "What about trying Eichenberg at center?" They have tried Eichenberg at center. He was taking snaps in center when Connor was out in mini camps and OTAs. I do not think Eichenberg should be on this football team, period. I think he should just sit on the bench, or he should go to the XFL or USFL or something, because maybe he needs to do that, because right now, based on the way that he looks this year, his confidence is shot. I mean, he was getting manhandled in joint practices and also in the training camp this year by several of the Dolphin players. So I just don't see him on the team. I really don't. But yeah, that's they did try him at center. And as far as I want to go back to Zach Sealer for a minute. It's kind of fun. It's not funny, but I mean, it is kind of funny because you remember during practices, Sealer got hurt, right? And he wanted to come in there and play anyway while he was hurt. And a lot of the coaches and the players, even Christian Wilkins, was talking to him in his ear, and I'm pretty sure they were telling him, "Hey, dude, don't go in there and play in the preseason game or in practice. You get hurt, you're going to lose out on millions of dollars." And
Right.
look what happened. He's hurt. So this is a good sign. You know, he can't be that seriously hurt, or they wouldn't have given the extension.
Right. But I think he wanted to come back into the practices, and they kept on telling him, "Don't come back in," and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
he did. Yeah, he did
so
want
I
to come
think
into the practices.
Right. So I think he's, going to be good to go. But like Scotty says, he thinks this Wilkins news is bad, and to sign Hicks, and that's a King Hicks guy. So I'm sure he's referring to. He's on the defensive front, so he's he could be. If you see a move like that, then you really start connecting the dots that Wilkins may be on the move or something like that. Or you just play, because Wilkins will play this year. He won't sit out because he's not going to get paid if he sits out, and then he's going to be in the same boat next year, still having to play on that contract. So, either we're going to have.
So here's a question I have.
Yeah, shoot.
Here's a question I have about Christian Wilkins. Right, everybody's saying he's such a team player and he's all this and all that, which I know he is, but I'm just a thought. Okay, if he didn't hold in, as opposed to holding out or whatever for the last 3-4 weeks he hasn't played,
Right.
Guess what? Christian Wilkins would have never gotten paid.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
is he coming in or to practice because he's not going to get paid, or is he coming into practice because he really is a team player?
Oh, I guess either way.
Just a thought.
I do believe he's a team player, but he may be coming in this time to get paid. But I do believe he's a team player up until now, when he realized he wants his money, and it may not be coming from the Miami Dolphins. And if
Right.
Bobby, I dropped a link if you want to join, and anyone, if you want to join, come in and join, please. But yeah, that's a good question that you guys, you bring up. It's hard to know what we don't know what the numbers are. We don't know what Wilkins want, and we can all speculate all we want, but we don't know what Wilkins is asking for, and we don't know what the Dolphins are. Is it like a Grand Canyon gap? It must be, if that's what Ian Rappaport's, that they broke down. It must be so far different that they just don't feel like they can come to, an agreement. So, but does that mean we move him, or does it just mean we play with him this year? He's not going to be happy this year, but he's still going to ball out because he's going to want to get a big contract, moving forward. And if it's not with the Dolphins, from another team. So we got a lot going in. We're going to know over the next couple of weeks. Tomorrow, Tuesday.
For sure.
The cut down date. We're going to have a lot of answers. We're going to know what's going on, and like I say. So what would you do, DG? You're Mr. Chris Greer right now. Like, are you looking to move him, or are you just saying, well, if you got to play this year, you're under contract, Mr. Wilkins, and we're not going to move you? Or would you look for a good deal at this point? If you can't, we don't know. Reports come out false all the time. 2 hours from now, they could say, oh, they've reached an agreement. But right now, Ian Rappaport saying they can't reach an agreement. So you're not going to reach Wilkins' number, and you tell him, Mr. Wilkins, this is it. We're not going to pay. Would you offer him, do you want us to shop you, or do you want to play the remainder of this year? What would you do, George?
I like that name. I might change my name to that, Mr. Chris Greer. But how I feel about the Christian Wilkins situation, first, we're flirting with Jonathan Taylor. In order for us to get Jonathan Taylor, we got to trade away picks, and we got to sign him to a contract. So that's one person that they're worrying about before they sign Christian Wilkins. And now they signed Zach Sealer to a contract. So that's another person. If they end up signing somebody else to another contract before Christian Wilkins, I feel like this is like a sign that they're probably going to try to do something with them as far as trading them away, because we can't keep on signing these guys and expect to sign Christian Wilkins to 20 mil plus a year. We cannot expect that. That 20 mil, we spreading it out. We giving some to Zach Sealer 10 mil a year, kinda. That's a bargain deal right there. And on top of that, if we do get Jonathan Taylor, that probably might be that other half of that 20 mil that you could have give to Christian Wilkins. So so that's another thing. So me personally, I don't mind moving off of Christian Wilkins. I even brought up the fact of us trading away Christian Wilkins to the Colts for Jonathan Taylor. We might be able to get a pick back with Jonathan Taylor.
You're going to have to get a pick back if he did a move like that, because to me, Wilkins on a value of a football team, is ahead of Taylor. I would think, if I'm, when you go by.
No, he's not ahead of Taylor.
You don't think so?
Is Christian Wilkins going to give us? Is he going to make us a better Super Bowl contender? Is he going to give us more of a chance than Jonathan Taylor?
Would you trade Wilkins for Jonathan Taylor straight up?
Would I? Yeah, I would because defensive tackles don't win you Super Bowls.
True.
Yeah. And if and he's been with us 3 or 4 years now. Have we gone, other than last year, just barely sliding into the playoffs? Has he done anything to get us to the playoffs? No. Defensive tackles value getting you to the Super Bowl or the playoffs. He may help your defense a little bit, but he's not going to win you the Super Bowl. It's going to be a running game.
Back. What running back has won that team a Super Bowl over the past 5 Super Bowl teams? If you look back. What running back is? Yeah. What running back is?
You don't think Kansas City used the running back in the playoffs more than in the regular season?
Do they have a stud running back like a Jonathan Taylor or
Derrick
Henry?
They have Pacheco. Pacheco's a pretty good running back, and so is the other running back they have. No, they're not elite like them. But what I'm saying, but then again, Kansas City has we're talking Kansas City that has Mahomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a Mahomes.
Yeah, we don't have a Mahomes, so we gotta put that talent into another position, like the running back. So it will be good. It will be good to have Jonathan Taylor right next to Tua. They're gonna worry about Jonathan Taylor before Tua. They're gonna worry about Tyreek Hill before Tua. I'm pretty sure defenses are more scared of Tyreek Hill, and if we get Jonathan Taylor too, they're gonna be more worried about that.
Absolutely.
They would not know either if they need to load up the box or they need to play that zone defense. So it's going to confuse the defenses.
But I don't know. I just don't see him being worth a first round pick. But then some people think we would get a first round pick if we traded Wilkins. We could get a first round pick. So then it's almost like trading a first round pick to, so it's just like a swap. An even swap, maybe. But I would think. So what you're saying, Steve, is like, Wilkins for Taylor, if another team had to give up an extra pick in that trade, you would say it would have to be Miami to give up an extra pick in that trade. I would thought it would have had to go the other way around, that we would get a pick and Taylor or whatever. So
like it'll probably be like Taylor and like a 5th round pick or 4th round pick for Christian Wilkins.
Yeah,
in my opinion. And Christian Wilkins, he's from Connecticut. So that's pretty much his hometown team right there. And the Colts, they got Anthony Richardson, so they don't have to worry about paying a quarterback in a long time. So all that money that they could allocate to Christian Wilkins, it will be easier for them to sign him to that extension that he really wants instead of us,
Yeah. Let me touch on my RL. I would hope not RL, that the contract. I don't think that has anything to do, because if anything, that's going to hurt him, these bad snaps, and maybe it's in his head or whatever, but he was doing bad snaps last year when he had a brand new contract. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. But of course, I'm not always right. You never know what goes on in someone's head.
Well,
and let's see. Go on.
Well,
I just want to tell something Scotty said.
There it is. Okay. I was just going to make a comment on that. What did Scotty say? I'm standing firm. Moving off Wilkins is going to definitely set our defense and team back big. There's my point. You just made my point. You lose one person on the defense or the offense, or 1 or 2 people on the defense or the offense, and now all of a sudden we're going to have a bad defense. Really? Really?
Yeah. Well, it might be, though. That's the problem. We don't have major depth there, man. So
I don't think it's no. Well, that's that. You're right. We don't have major depth there. But it's my point exactly what I've been saying. You lose 1 or 2 people on this defense, and how's he going to look?
Yeah. Well, Scotty, you're welcome to join. I sent that link. I would love to get Scotty in here one day. He's always has good. So he does. Man, he's a Ahmed fan. I like him too. Believe me, I like him. I'm not going to try to compare him to Jonathan Taylor, but I do like Savon Ahmed. I think he's shown out that he can be good. He had another big run last night. He's not going to get you those tough yardage, like if you need like a 1 yard, like third and inches, and you need to pound him up there. No, that's not probably the guy you want to go to. But if Brooks, I like Chris Brooks, but I don't know if he's going to make the team. We love all these undrafted free agents, but there's only so many roster spots. But to me, Chris Brooks looks like granted, and I also know he's playing against the bottom of the line. Oh my God, Evan, if Red Sox suck up there, but I'll put him in there because
Evan,
what's up, guys?
his title on the screen is Red Sox suck. But
hey, Rob,
hey,
I'm gonna have to step out of here in about 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay, no problem, man. I know. See, Evan, you're scaring Steve off, man. You can't take.
Evan popped in, and I got to get out of here.
Too much realism for Steve.
I want a warm and I want a warm and fuzzy. This morning. Last night I didn't get that.
You get your warm and fuzzy now with the signing of Zach Sealer. That gives me some warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, it
does. I like to hear
You're right.
that.
You're right, Evan.
Yeah, that was a genius. That was a very, very smart signing. Honestly, him for $10 million, $10.25 million is a better bargain than Christian Wilkins at 20. I'll put it that way. Because that's the whole thing with Christian Wilkins is that he's a $15 million guy. That's my. They may end up giving him 20. Who knows? This could be a domino effect. We don't know. They might end up having to succumb to it. But the Sealer, just imagine where he was 3 years ago. He was living in an RV parked in the Dolphins parking lot, and look where he is now.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's actually been more consistent. If you really look at it, it may be because he was a 7th round pick, not a 1st round draft pick, but he's been just as consistent and as reliable as Christian Wilkins. The question is, can one do without the other? Because they've never been without each other, right?
Right. No, I know. That's what we're going to find out. That's what Scotty always points out. Like, Sealer may not be as good without Wilkins next to him. So
exactly.
Yeah. Hey, Montreal's looking like good weather out there, man.
Yeah, it's very nice today. I actually took my kids to a park nearby. They're on their bikes, and I just said, "You want to know what? I'm going to jump in for a few minutes and say hello."
Well, there's your daughter.
There's my daughter. Say hi, Gabby.
Hello,
can't hear you.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm with you. I'm a little worried too about that. Does Sealer play up to the same standard if they do move on from Wilkins here now that Bobby broke what Ian Rappaport is saying? So we will see.
Unless they have another. They haven't signed a defensive lineman, a 1st round. They haven't signed a defensive lineman that they've drafted since 2012. Right.
That's right.
They don't want to pay those guys. And the problem with Christian Wilkins, his main problem is the fact that when he compares himself to Dexter Lawrence and Quinnen Williams, these are guys who are sack machines. He's not a sack machine. So it's similar with Connor Williams. He hurt himself the last 2 games with his bad snapping because he's not a natural center. If he was a left guard, he'd probably be making $10 million. But Christian Wilkins, his biggest problem is he doesn't get to the quarterback. He's a great run stopper, and we saw that last night. And he's actually a complimentary player. The only case I would be if I was him is I would walk in and say, without me there, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are going to get to the quarterback because I cause so much disruption that it allows these guys to set the edge. But is he really worth? Is he $5 million better than Bradley Chubb? Is he $10 million better than Zach Sealer? That's the problem. Is if you compare him, he's going to end up being the highest paid. He's not Jalen Ramsey-esque, right?
No.
He's not Xavier Howard-esque. He's not at that level yet. Even though he's the captain of our defense, and it was nice to see him on the field last night for the wrong reasons because he's the union rep. The hardest thing for me is I love the guy. I want him on my team, but to pay him $20 million, it hurts. It hurts.
No, it hurts building the team in other spots for sure. It's tough. Yeah. So Steve, any final thoughts? I know you got to run out, Steve.
No, I'm with Evan on that. That's he made the exact points that I've been saying as well. He's not a sack master. He's a run stopper, and unfortunately, the market for defensive tackles is set by sack masters. And if you look at it that way, from the business perspective, he's not worth $20 million. And Evan, I would even say I'd pay him 17, 18.
Yeah, I would. Not 20.
Not 20. Yeah. So
You're setting a bad precedent if you sign him to 20, because you know what's going to end up happening is Jalen Phillips in 2 years is going to want $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
or more.
But the difference is though is that the only way Jalen Phillips gets $20 million is if he gets double-digit sacks this year and next, and if he does that, he's justifying himself to get $20 million. Christian Wilkins is a captain; he's a complimentary player. I'll put it this way: talk about a completely different sport, but in Montreal, we have a hockey team, and then there's a player who's similar, who has like the captaincy level. He has that kind of grit that Christian Wilkins has, and they ended up giving him a contract that for what he's done, not what he's going to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're paying for it now. He's overpaid for what he is. So Christian Wilkins' contract, if you give him for 4 years, might look good for the next year and the year after. The next 2 years, it may not look so good when you're in cap hell. Right?
Yeah.
I know the cap isn't real, but his cap, he might cause you cap issues in 2 years if you give him 20. You might benefit, you might gain some cap space this year, maybe next, but not in 2 years, not in 3 years. So
right, no, for sure, and that's going to all.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
So, Steve, before you go, I hired you as my general manager. I'm the rich billionaire owner. I'm going to put myself way up there. I'm the rich billionaire owner that just bought the Miami Dolphins. I hire now, and I hire Steve Malloy as my general manager. What are you doing with Wilkins? I said, you either get him signed or move him. You're unable to get him signed, so what are you moving him for? What's your minimum value you're taking for him in a trade?
I'm either taking for certain, like I wouldn't trade Christian Wilkins for a high first round pick. Probably in like the 15 to the 30 range. I feel like a team will be comfortable with that, but you don't know how good or how bad a team will be to know what that pick will be. Right. So it will probably
especially
be
with Greer drafting. Especially with Greer drafting.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But I would say a first round pick or a player of value like Jonathan Taylor or somebody on the O-line that can help us out. That will probably cost us less to keep, because I'm more worried about the O-line than, keeping a Christian Wilkins, because I know that's going to handicap us in the future, because look at the Rams right now. They got Aaron Donald, but look at everything around them. A whole bunch of UDFAs and stuff like that, and they got rid of Jalen Ramsey too, just to help with cap space. So it's kind of like I kind of see the Rams situation as something that we could be in if we sign Christian Wilkins to that contract. But Christian Wilkins, he's not Aaron Donald. He's definitely not Aaron Donald.
No, nowhere near that. The other problem is that if they decide that they can't sign Christian Wilkins, they better have someone they're looking at either in a trade, in another trade, who's going to cost them a lot less, because the current depth on that line, unless they have a plan where they think that you move Sealer into his position and then you find a role for Ogba. If Ogba, that's the only thing that you can do. That Ogba will put his hand in the ground, and then Ogba will get back in his position, and across the line you'll have Davis, you'll have Sealer, and you'll have Ogba. That's the only way I see them getting away from Wilkins, unless they have and they get more depth there. But they can't just replace Christian Wilkins and expect that the Brandon Peeleys and the rest of the players they have on their team are going to be able to be enough depth for them on this team. That will become a problem, unless they think Aubrey Miller is capable of what he's going to be doing, and I don't think so. So like if they lose Christian Wilkins, they don't feel they can sign him. If they drop Christian Wilkins and they trade him, they better have a plan already for Jonathan Taylor. So I actually think the Christian Wilkins thing will only happen once they know what happens with Taylor, unless he's part of the Taylor deal, right? Like they're not going to drop their captain and lose and have that flack, because even if they sign Sealer, that is like the news cycle will only allow the Dolphins and Chris Greer to enjoy that for about 24 hours. Because if Tuesday goes and there's still uncertainty with Christian Wilkins and no Jonathan Taylor on this team, we're going to be back to what we felt last night, which is, okay, you sign one guy, but there's still no depth on the defensive line. You still don't have a bell cow running back.
True, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see but yeah, Scotty, so that's everyone think a team is going to sign Wilkins for under $20 million, saying you all agree he's not worth anything. Well, we're not saying he's not worth anything, Scotty. We're just thinking, but we're not the Miami Dolphins. We're not paying a paycheck. Obviously, they can't reach a deal. So maybe they can find a team that is willing to reach Wilkins' number.
The only thing I would consider doing is give him 17, 18 million. I would do that. So let's say you give him 18 million for 3 years extension. So that's 54 million. Then give him 45 guaranteed or 40 guaranteed. I don't care about the guaranteed money. I could not care less about that. It's more that I don't want to pay him $20 million. So if you can get him to his 40 or 45 million guaranteed, I'm okay with that. But I'm not giving him a total of 60 with 50 million guaranteed.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point right there. Good point.
Hey, Evan, if you have to go have fun, I understand. It sounds like
No,
your kids are having
I'll be
fun.
back. I'm going to go help the person. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'll join back in a minute.
All right, thank you.
I'll be right back. No problem.
All right. So, George, like I say, and I'm with you, Scotty, for the most part. I like Wilkins, don't get me wrong, but obviously they're having contract issues. I'm not saying he's not worth anything, but to the Dolphins, they may not meet. But, just like it happens all the time in baseball, football, every sport out there. Some team doesn't want to give their own guy that much, and another team comes in and swoops in and give them the big contract. Mm-hmm. So, maybe another team out there is willing to beat Wilkins' contract demands.
And let me say one thing, Rob. With this situation, sometimes in life, you're stuck in a situation that's to where it's not gonna benefit you in the future, but right now it sounds good. Let's say you marry a girl and you think she's the one, but there's some flaws about her that that's gonna end up popping up in the future, but you still marry her because you have that much love for her. But sometimes you got to make the better decision. Sometimes people look past that. They look past that that 7 or 8 that's probably going to be with them for a long time, and they try to go after that 9 or 10 female, even though that it probably will not last. And that's our current situation right now. Like, we need to go look for that 7 or 8 that we know that we could go be with for a long time. That's what we need. That 9 or even Christian Wilkins, he's not even a 9 or 10. He's like a 8.5, But are you willing to risk it all for an 8.5 that is not going to last?
Yeah. No, I know. So. I mean, I know, and I like, it's tough, man. I mean, that's where we as fans, we get emotionally attached to certain players and we like them. But unfortunately for them and for the team, it's a business at the end of the day. And, they have to both make the sides work. So it's nothing about not wanting and not thinking.
Mm-hmm. You see, Scotty, he has something to say about it.
Yeah, I know. I see. Okay, let me tell you. All right, then. Okay, now let me tell you about the girl I did it narrative and the business.
Scotty knows.
It's all fun and game. I'm not definitely a Super Bowl team over $2 million for one of our, that's good, but we don't know what the gap is, Scotty. That's the point. They could be a lot more than $2 million. So because I think if they were just $2 million off, they would find a happy medium somewhere. I'm thinking there's probably a bigger gap between what they want and whatever. So yes, maybe from what the us fans are saying, you're talking about the $2 million. We're saying, we would give him 18, but not 20. But the Dolphins, we don't know what the Dolphins are offering him. He could want 20, and the Dolphins could be offering like 16 million. And it's a $4 million gap. So we don't even know what the Dolphins are offering him. We have no clue what Miami is offering him. That's the only unknown variable in this. But yeah, if it comes down to where they're only $2 million off, I'd be very upset if they couldn't reach. I say only. I would love $2 million. I would love $2 million, but in the NFL, only $2 million. The Stephen Ross probably has that in the cushions of his private jet. He could find $2 million. So I don't think it's just $2 million. It's probably different. Unless it's a pride thing, and it's $2 million. Maybe the Dolphins are $2 million what they want, and Wilkins has too much pride to come down to those $2 million. But something tells me the gap must be wider. I don't know. Like I said, I have no clue. Ross isn't calling me from his private jet as he's flying around, going back to New York after his weekend here in Florida. So, I don't know. I have no clue, but there is a good chance it's a gap wider than $2 million, because I think if it was a $2 million gap, they would reach an agreement, and it'd be easier to come to an agreement. But if you're millions and millions, apart, then it's a too big of a gap problem. So I don't know. What do you think, George? Like, don't you think if it's just a $2 million gap, they'll probably find a happy medium, meet in the middle?
Even with that, I do not think so, because I went back and did some research on Christian Wilkins' draft class, right? And majority of the D tackles drafted in his draft class, they end up signing a contract. Jeffrey Simmons, Quentin Williams, Dexter Lawrence. All those guys already signed their contracts, and the lowest I think is like 23 mil a year.
Oh, yeah.
23 mil, and we are uncomfortable with signing Christian Wilkins to even 20 mil. So I'm pretty sure the gap is way bigger than it is right now. Like Christian Wilkins, he probably would have played a preseason game here or there if he was like happy with the gap. But I'm pretty sure it's a way bigger gap than that. And I don't know if we gonna sign up to that contract, man. It's crazy the fact that he's the only one that's unsigned out of that whole draft class.
I know.
And Dexter Lawrence got picked right after him in this draft. Jeffrey Simmons got picked right after him. So maybe right there, imagine if we had Jeffrey Simmons on our team, Dexter Lawrence on our team. Would we have signed them?
No, yeah.
Do you think
probably
so?
Not.
Probably not. But at the same time, in my opinion, I think both of those guys are better than Christian Wilkins because what they offer in the pass rush game. They're good at run defending too. Like Dexter Lawrence it's hard to push that guy off the line of scrimmage. Like,
right.
And he could get to the quarterback too. I think he got 9 or 11 sacks as like a pure nose tackle last year. So I'm pretty sure both of those guys are better than Christian Wilkins. So Christian Wilkins definitely does not deserve the money that they deserve. But at the same time, that goes to show you Chris Greer's mistakes. They're starting to like to highlight themselves. And if we don't if we don't get a Super Bowl this year, then we all gotta like look at Chris Greer as like the victim, and that's why he's making all these moves right now to make up for the mistakes that he made. He probably knew that he should have drafted Jonathan Taylor in that draft class, and look at him. I'm trying to target him, trying to pay him. We went and got Jalen Ramsey. He probably knew that we should have got Trevon Diggs instead of Noah Igbo. Now he has to pay Jalen Ramsey all this money. He probably knew that we should have drafted Tristan Wirfs, but we went and got Austin Jackson, who we don't even like at the current moment, and we went and paid Teron Armstead. It's just like Chris Greer. He's dishing out all this money.
I know. Like I said, because we all like Tyreek Hill, but when you trade for a guy like Tyreek Hill, you got to give him the bag of money. When you can't trade for a guy like Chubb, you need to give him that bag of money. Then it makes it harder to keep your own guys that you did draft because you've given these guys that you had to fill in because of some other misses and give them those big contracts. So that's just all part of their capology, as they call it. They have to figure out who's a fit in, but unfortunately, it comes at a cost at some point. You can't just sign. Eventually, you're gonna not be able to sign everyone. And that's where we are right now. And it seems.
And you become a good GM when you know how to bring value to your whole team. Like you see what the Chiefs do, but they're kind of in like a good space because they have Patrick Mahomes. You could put anybody, you could put anybody around Patrick Mahomes and you'll probably be a good team.
Yeah.
And then look at the Eagles, Harry Roseman, he does his thing. He has a deep roster over there, but it's just
he does. He's a deep roster, and he got it mainly through draft picks. And they were doing the rebuild at the same time as us, building up multiple picks and stuff. And they never traded theirs away multiple times, and they were able to draft. It's all about drafting, right? Yes, Chris Greer has done some decent draft picks, but he's also missed on more than Grossman, it seems. So that's the difference of they're not in salary cap heck yet, and that's why they're able to pay their quarterback and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, you guys, you have to see the value in the roster, the value, not monetary wise, but looking at the best players at that position, seeing what they're getting, and seeing if you got that player that can produce, but you're paying them less. We got one person with Zach Sealer, but there's a whole bunch of other teams that they have a lot of people contributing into the team success. It seems like our top people are the only people who will contribute, like Teron Armstead. He has 18 million on his head right now. Tyreek Hill, he has about 30 million instead of I like Tyreek Hill, but imagine if we had like 3 $10 million receivers in our room. Like look at the Jaguars. They just got Calvin Ridley. They got Christian Kirk, and we're probably spending more money on our receivers than them, but their receivers, they look real good. They got weapons for Trevor Lawrence, so they're getting weapons at a value.
And we got Waddle coming up in a couple of years. We're gonna have to pay that young man, so
much
hopefully
money.
by then Hill's contract's not as big, and you can move on, and you get, because Hill has come out and said he wants to play 10 years or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be at the end of this. But who knows? But you're still gonna have to find a way to get Waddle money because he's been a good pick. So I just find, it's hard, man, because like I said, as fans, we would just be like, yeah, keep him. But in reality, you just can't keep everyone that you sign. And unfortunately, the mid-draft, make us sign the guys like Tyreek Hill and Chubb and give them the bag of money. So that always pushes someone out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And before I forget, guys, give me a thumbs up. What's here on YouTube's a thumbs up. Throw a laser pass at that subscribe button and make sure to check out DG Live's channel. If you see it right there, that's where you can find them. Like I always say, it's GG Live with an extra E for his excellence that he brings to his channel. And that's where you can find him. It's Dolphins Game, so it's easy to remember. Just make sure you find them, guys. He's really good, I tell you. You guys will like his videos he does. So it's good stuff. But anyway, like you said, man, it's very hard as a fan to relate, to these players and stuff because we're like, oh, that's so much money. You should just take 18 million. But when they know their counterparts and other teams are getting over 20, then 18 doesn't look so good because you and me sitting at home saying, oh my God, 18 million, I'll take that in a minute,
Right.
So, these guys, it's all about pride for one. And, the pay is part of the pride, and they want to show that, hey, I'm just as good as this guy. Why is he getting paid more than me?
Mm-hmm. Like, all my life, the most successful people who end up being the richest, like let's use Bill Gates as an example.
Right.
You don't see him wearing all the fancy stuff. He has the money, but he's not gonna blow it. He's putting his money in the right assets. But those are the type of people that came up knowing the value in money, and they know how to use it. Some people they get money so quick and they spend it so fast, but that's not really the case of how you do it in certain situations. If you spend money the right way, throughout the whole way of your life, you end up being way more successful than other people. But that's why there's not really a lot of successful people in the world right now, because they don't know how to get there. They want the fancy things now, they want the nice things now, but the only way to get the nice things is to know, like, okay, I think you hear this all the time. Before you take a trip, make sure you could pay for that trip 3 times. Like, make sure you have that amount of money in your account. Don't go on a trip and spend your last dollar.
Right.
So those people who think that way, those are the people who end up being more successful, thinking down the future. And that's just the key to life, man. You could correlate it to what Chris Greer doing, but when you made so much mistakes in your past, and you try to make up for him, and now he doing what he doing right now.
No, I agree. And if it means losing Wilkins, that's just unfortunately the part of today's NFL. It's just we will see Scotty. That's like Scotty makes some good plans. I thought, like, you and I both like Wilkins. It's not personal, but unfortunately in the business world, they're going to have to make that decision. Hopefully, Ian Rappaport's normally on point. And if he's saying that, that they were unable to decide, and so the Dolphins just decided to move on, doesn't mean they're moving on from, Wilkins. It just means they realize, well, we can get this deal done a lot quicker, so it doesn't mean necessarily it's a dead deal, but it's not looking good. It doesn't seem like. So, I don't know. I mean, it's tough, I came on here, I thought we were going to be talking more about last night's game, and then this broke this morning. So, of course, that's the thing to talk about. We're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, but I appreciate you coming on, George, before we do. We still got a couple minutes, but I just want to let you know, I do appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. I try to give you all the thumbs up I can when I see your videos hit. So it's always good.
Like, I work during the week days, Monday through Friday. So I get off at 9. So all the times that you do the lives, I'm unable to join. So that's the sad
I understand. I know, man, but I understand. Don't worry, George. I just recently retired because of a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But hey, it's all good. I like it, man. I used to work 12-hour days all the time, so I understand where you're coming from. So you're keeping busy out there.
Yeah, so soon I'll be in a situation as to where I could do this YouTube thing full time. If I had more time on my hand, trust me, I would be doing these live streams as well. But as of right now, I'm probably only good for the pre-recorded stuff that I do, but I'm working towards that goal so I could keep on pushing out content for all our supporters. I'm pretty sure we have like the same following since we cover the same team. So
Yeah.
just in due time, we gotta keep God first,
Yeah.
pray every day and all that. And I know He's gonna do something for me. I know it.
Yeah, hey, but you're a hard worker, man. You do your stuff, man. Your channel's gonna pop, and it already popped. You're up there like in the thousands. I'm just under 500, way under 500. So try to get to 400. So tell your friends about me. Say, hey, check out this Dolphin Thirsty guy. But anyway, Scotty, we all know all GMs missed. But I think we're Dolphin fans are a little harder because it's been forever since we won a playoff game, much less a Super Bowl appearance or anything like that. So I think San Francisco has a history of winning. Yeah, they may have lost the past couple of Super Bowls they get to or NFC championship games they've gotten to, but they get there. And then we just always admire. And so it's like a good baseball team will miss, but when they keep on making the playoffs, fans are like, okay, they missed on that guy, but, we're still in the playoffs and stuff. Just like in football. Yeah, but the playoff wins, I don't think anyone will exaggerate careers. How about you?
I mean, he brought up the 49ers. They missed on Trey Lance, but look what they found. Brock Purdy, in the 7th round, a guy that they don't really have to pay. So they could go give him a whole new offensive line and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
A whole new offensive line. But we've been given to a trash O-lines for the past few years. Just last year we got something decent, but not to the standard of Jalen Hurts. You see what Jalen Hurts have, and you've seen how he developed into being the quarterback that he is. Like we talked about the Browns, that O-line, that's the foundation right there to help a quarterback. But the 49ers, all that bad move, I don't really look at it since they got the person that they like at quarterback. And I've been watching Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold look good over there. Sam Darnold look good, and that coaching staff, they got faith in. They drafted style. They got faith in the coaching staff to coach up these players to be better than what they really are. So 49ers, I trust that organization right there. But our organization, I still gotta see it to believe it. I'm not trying to say Chris Greer's a bad GM. He's doing what he can. He's doing what he can, but you can't look past the mistakes. You can't look past them and look at our current situation right now. I'm pretty sure the 49ers not going to be a cap hell next year. They got a whole bunch of money to spend, but us,
No, I know we're in cap. Like I say, people say, "Oh, the cap's fake," but it's not. It might be flexible, but it's not fake, or we wouldn't be in this. If it was fake, we would just sign Wilkins to what he wants and win at war, because it's not about Ross not wanting to pay the guys. He would pay them, but it's just only so much. They have guys that their sole job is to worry about what the cap and what they can do. Chris Greer doesn't do that. He goes to his cap guy and say, listen, we need – the cap guy probably says, we can't do that, and then he's like, oh, okay, because Greer's more worried about getting the talent. So you get a numbers guy, and the numbers guy says no. Once the number 9 guy says yeah, then they go to Ross and says, well, number guy says we can do this. Ross says, okay, where do I sign? So I don't think it's anything to do with Ross. Maybe he likes or doesn't like coaches. Maybe that falls on him. Maybe that falls on Greer. But to me, I thought Flores was a good coach, and all the dirty laundry got aired, and that was bad, and we didn't know. I think McDaniel's a good coach, but time has to tell. Kim Bokamper seems to like McDaniel because he says he sees that what you just mentioned a minute ago. This coaching staff seems to get players here and get them better once they get here. So they seem to be being coached up decent once they get here. So hopefully that's true, and that's just not his. Because Kim Bokamper does the work for the Dolphins on the preseason games. He works on their radio network at times, and he's a former Miami Dolphins player, so he might be a little biased. But he does say he sees this coaching staff coaching up the players. So so that's what. So Brock allows a 3. I don't think people were making fun of the 49ers all through social media. I think their fans are a little less harsh on them because they were just in the NFC Championship game and was just in a recent Super Bowl and stuff. So, you get a little more leeway. If you get Chris Greer gets us an AFC Championship game, get us to the Super Bowl a few years, over a few years, span where you're in one, miss 1 year, come back again, then yeah, I think then Chris Greer gets the courtesy of having the benefit of doubt. But you got to earn the benefit of doubt.
Yeah, this year has to be the year. This year it has to be a year for me to forgive Chris Greer because you spent all this money. The previous years I can't really use that because we only made the playoffs once and we lost that game. There's other people that's making other moves and they're getting far in the playoffs and all that. That's the ultimate goal right there. That's the ultimate goal. We got a better GM than a lot of other teams, but we're not to the point to where we're confident that we could make it to the Super Bowl until this year. This year, I like the roster, and hopefully Chris Greer made the right choices as far as the players that he got to put on his team, and hopefully the mistakes that he tried to make up for now help us get to that point where we could consider him one of the best GMs in the league for what he did for us recently. But he got to show for it right now. He got to show for it. The 49ers, I understand the 3 first-round picks or whatnot, but if Brock Purdy wins them a Super Bowl, nobody not even going to care about those third-round picks, those 3 first-round picks. Nobody.
I know. That's what I say. No one's going to care. Yes, and it didn't get. I mean, fans on Twitter made fun of it, but like I said, you think 49er fans really care not too much because, like I said, they have a history of winning. That's all that matters. That's what we all want. We just want the Dolphins to win. We can all disagree on how we think they should get them. Let's see. So bottom line again is just I think he ends up playing for us, but there's that big disclaimer. If some team calls us after hearing this news by Ian Rappaport and all whatever and starts saying, hey, is this true? And they get some offer they can't refuse, as they did for Tunso and stuff like that, then maybe he doesn't. So I mean that's really good, Scotty. But my bottom line right now would say he might, but I might be eating crow by tomorrow and he'd be moved. So, I don't know. But I would say right now he'll play. But if it's going to be nasty and they think it's going to be nasty, they may move on from him if he seems. But I just don't think his personality is a type that he's going to be disgruntled. He's going to go do his business, play this year, but he may not be the raw guy that he had been in the past. He did come out there last night. The minute Davis got hurt, he walked out in the field as a players rep and talk and whether the game should be called or not, and they decided to call it. So I don't really know, Scotty, but if I had to say right now, I would say yes. Under his current contract, he's just going to have to play because he's not going to sit out and whatever. But how about you, George? Because that is a good question from Scotty. I give him thumbs up on that.
Before the Zach Sealer signing, I would have said that he's going to play for us this season, but after it's like a little cloudy now.
I know
it's a little cloudy.
Let's see. I don't think so. I mean, that gave 60 players names for the final. Hey, I know. I know. Hey, we'll see, man. I mean, it's really, I don't know, man. I mean, it's really hard to say because they're not just going to obviously just cut him because he's way too valuable an asset, but you got to find some team, and he's probably not going to want to go to a team that's not going to, like when Chubb, we already knew we had the deal basically in place. Like a day later, it was announced Chubb already had the big fat contract. So it's going to have to be, he's going to, some team that's willing to pay him because no team's going to give us anything worthwhile for him if he's not going to be signed. They're not going to, give us a high pick for a rental player. So I would imagine that any team that makes a move for him is going to want to talk to him first, talk to numbers, see what he's want, and be willing to agree to his contract demands is what I would think. So, that's what I think. So that's why, I would think he would have to.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind signing Sue and Hicks. They'll probably both of them together will probably cost less than Wilkins. Yeah, and that's depth right there as well. And it's not just one person. So you see that's where you find value as a GM. You gotta weigh out your options. Should I give Christian Wilkins $20 million a year, or should I give Akeem Hicks and Ndamukong Suh about between both of them? It'd probably be like $15 million. Together, right. I'd rather do that than give Christian Wilkins that $20 million. But if we had cap space,
and Hicks and Saul is not going to be long-term deals that lock you up forever. So
and it's not going to mess up your cap space in the future as well. Right. It might be a downgrade, but you never know. Like one of those two guys, they might still have like some juice in them left. You know,
Yeah.
Akeem Hicks. We already know what Akeem Hicks is back in the past with the Bears. Dominican Sue. We already know what he is. I think he won the Heisman as a defensive player in college. So, you know, both of those guys bring value, and they might like offer something to the defense. You know, Christian Wilkins, he could do the same thing as well, but for the amount of money that he wants and our cap situation, it just seems like it would be better for us to sign both of those guys instead of keeping Christian Wilkins, because we're gonna fix the depth, and we won't have to spend too much money. You know, we're gonna have Raekwon Davis, Sealer, Sue, Akeem Hicks. We could just do a little rotation with those guys, and I'll be okay with our D line for sure.
Yeah, no, I do too. And Scotty, I forget, where do you stand on the Jonathan Taylor bandwagon? Are you a yes or a no on the Dolphins should bring in Jonathan Taylor? I'm a yes at the right price again. And Scotty's gonna say, "Oh, Mose, Dolphins thirsty, you and your right price." But I just don't think he's. You know, I just would not throw a first round pick at them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it don't even have to. Like, I just seen what Eric said. It don't even have to.
Thank you for the comment, Eric.
Yeah, it don't even have to be Sue. Like, there's a lot of D tackles that's about to get cut. If the Dolphins like one of them, we just signed Jamal Woods or something like that. Yeah. So it could be Jamal Woods and Akeem Hicks. It could be any two pairing. There's a lot of decent D tackles out there. You know, you see how people don't value D tackles.
Right.
So if you go look at the free agent market, you're gonna see a lot of good D tackles out there. So
right.
Yeah.
He likes Brooks like I like Brooks, so he would love JT at the right price, and Moser and Kane Brooks. And I agree. I like that running back room right there. That's a solid. Right. I do like Ahmed, but you know you can't keep them all again and stuff. So because Ahmed has shown some good this preseason.
Yeah, but you know, Ahmed, if we let Ahmed go, he gonna go somewhere else. Somebody else.
No, for sure. You're not sticking him in. He's gone. A team will pick him up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know it's but I like Brooks. I'm afraid if you try to sneak him onto the practice squad, he might be picked up too. I mean, this is a good problem to have, at least in some positions where you actually have, guys. I like that you have them tough decisions, because the tougher decisions you have, the better team you have. If it was like easy at every position, cut this guy, means you're really not that great. So it's good to have that good quality competition and have to have some hard decisions. I give Ahmed a slight edge right now over someone, Brooks, just because, you know what? I don't know if I do, because Brooks is a hard-nosed runner. But Ahmed has played for McDaniel before, so it's like we see where loyalty comes in, or is this just like hardcore decision, like what's best for the team? And at the end of the day, that's what all coaches have to do: what's best for the team, and put their person. Because he loves Mozart, he loves Wilson, and he loves Ahmed because he knows what they had him do from his previous stints in other places. So. That's the thing with those players. But, at the end of the day, you have to make what's the best decision for the Miami Dolphins. So, and I like Brooks. I would like to see Brooks against the starters and stuff, of course, because, we're saying Brooks looks great. But, he's an undrafted guy, but he was playing against a lot of undrafted guys that may or may not be in the NFL. So, we don't know how good he is. But I like how he runs. He keeps his legs moving. He keeps the power moving forward. We haven't had that from a running back here for a while, so I do like that. Exactly. So, George, I'm going to let you go here, and Evan never came back in, but that's fine. He will see that we're gone when he comes to see. So one more time, George, let them, from your own words, where can they find you if they want to follow you here on YouTube?
Y'all can find me at DG Live on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, all my platforms. I will be dropping my reaction video to last night's game in a few hours or so. So y'all be on the lookout for that. I also have a lot of more videos coming out. I do plan on doing some public interviews at the tailgates for the home games. So hopefully I interact with some cool Dolphin fans out there. So if you're going to be out there at the games, try to find me so I could get you a little interview in. And
What section are you going to be in? Do you know yet what parking section you're going to be?
I don't usually tell people this. I park by the Walmart across the street.
Oh, okay, that's fine. But do you tailgate anywhere?
Not a specific area. Like I don't really know too much people who tailgate, but I just walk around the area, and I'm gonna probably just ask somebody like, "Do you want to do like a little interview real quick?"
Oh, okay, yeah. So hopefully, I'll get your number or something. We can hook up or DM each other on Twitter and whatever, and hope you gotta be there at some games. So that'd be cool. But yeah, hey, that's a great trick. And they never bust you going over there. I don't want to get you jinxed now, but they never like see you and tow your car.
Oh no, not at all. I've been doing it since last year, and I did it for preseason this year, and nothing ever really happened. It's just like too much people to attend the game for them to actually pinpoint one person and tow all these cars.
Especially Walmart at all? Did it act like you're going into Walmart for a few minutes, or not even bother? You just go straight out of the parking lot to the game.
Go straight to the game because I'm not the only one doing what I'm doing,
Okay, I'm sure. I know, I'm sure. But hey, that's a good trick, man. A lot better than paying the $25, $35 for parking. So
yeah, it's kind of like let's say you see a whole bunch of people robbing a bank. Boom, yeah. you might as well go rob the bank with them instead of doing it by yourself and becoming a target.
Yeah. Well, gee, but not saying that, but I get your point. I mean your point. You're my Mr. Religion man. Don't be shy. I know it's all part of the game, but I
don't mean it. Just an example.
Yeah, I know you don't. Hey, anyway, guys, on that good note, please like and subscribe. You guys rock. George, as always, thank you for joining. And that's it, man. Dolphins #1, guys. Let's go, Dolphins, man. Get ready for the Chargers.
Dolphins thirsty, they never show no mercy. On the field or in the game, Miami knows how to play. Dolphins thirsty, we all get down and dirty.